Good afternoon and welcome to Legal Task. Today we're discussing the new FATF guidance on virtual assets and virtual asset service providers, Part 2. On 28th of October 2021, the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, published updated guidance for a risk-based approach to virtual assets and virtual asset service providers. We have briefly discussed key areas of the guidance in our previous program. Let's speak about the particulars now. First of all, the updated guidance provides that definitions of virtual assets and virtual asset service providers are expansive, covering all relevant financial assets. The definition of VASP is currently extended to cover the businesses of decentralized exchanges, some of the decentralized applications owners and operators, crypto escrow services, and some of the non-fungible tokens, NFTs. Practically, it means that these entities should be integrating customer identification programs, spending substantial amount of time and money on integration of KYC and possibly enhanced due diligence procedures in their working processes. Secondly, the guidance provides for stablecoins to be considered virtual assets or other financial assets subject to the FATF standards. However, central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, are not considered to be virtual assets, but a digital representation of central bank issued fiat currency, which is already subject to FATF standards. And thirdly, the guidance emphasizes that in peer-to-peer transactions, those identified AML and CTF risks can be mitigated to some extent as far as there is publicly available record of all blockchain transactions. The guidance makes a number of recommendations to address and mitigate those risks associated with peer-to-peer transactions, including implementing regulatory controls within the aim of increasing the visibility of P2P activity, ongoing risk-based supervision of VASPs and other entities, especially those that transact with unhosted wallets, as well as restricting the ability of VASPs to facilitate transactions from unknown or unacceptable sources, as well as imposing additional requirements such as enhanced record-keeping requirements on VASPs that permit transactions with unhosted wallets. Finally, mandating that VASPs only facilitate transactions with other VASPs or entities subject to AML-CTF requirements. Regarding decentralized finance, the guidance makes it clear that the DeFi application is not itself a VASP under the FATF standard because the standards do not apply to underlying software or technology. As the same with the peer-to-peer services, however, self-identification as a DeFi product is not, nor is the nature of the technology involved, dispositive of whether or not the owner or operator of a DeFi arrangement is a VASP. The guidance, however, notes that creators, owners and operators or some other persons who maintain control or sufficient influence in the DeFi arrangements may fall under the FATF definition of a VASP, where they are providing or actively facilitating VASP services. Regarding NFTs, the guidance notes that generally NFTs are not considered as virtual assets, but government authorities must consider the nature of the assets and its function in practice when evaluating whether it should be subject to AML-CTF regulation, not the terminology or marketing language that they use to describe the assets. For example, an NFT that is a digital representation of another non-virtual asset could be subject to the FATF standards. On VASP's licensing and registration updates, the guidance details those factors for government authorities to consider in identifying VASPs that should be subject to licensing regime or registration. What is important is that the guidance also applicable to identifying where those VASPs that operate across several jurisdictions should be licensed or registered. Additional attention is paid to the issues of implementation of VASP AML-CTF programs prior to the project launch, and high scrutiny requirements for those certain virtual asset service providers, such as those located in jurisdictions without effective licensing regimes, or those proposing to offer services involving stablecoins or other high-risk virtual assets. Regarding travel rule implementation, it was particularly italicized in the guidance that travel rule information should only be transmitted to a counterparty VASP in a secure manner, so as to protect the end-user information against unauthorized disclosure. Additionally, this required information should be transmitted prior to, simultaneously or concurrently with the funds transfer. However, it specifically mentions that this information may be transmitted through a transfer protocol separate from the funds transfer protocol. Regarding the principles of information sharing and cooperation amongst WASP supervisors, it should be noted that the guidance also devotes substantial attention to discussing regulation for decentralized finance and non-fungible tokens. Subscribe to Dukascoin TV and keep watching Legal Task. We'll keep you updated.